SCCA's National Championship Runoffs has long been a launching pad to professional careers for some, an annual pilgrimage for many, and a bucket list event just to compete in for all. This weekend, it is also a test extraordinaire, as for the contenders, Sonoma Raceway awaits. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Larry McLeod down in the pits. It'll be Hayward Wagner, and this is going to be a fun one, obviously. And we first of all have to say a big thanks to our friends from Mazda for presenting our coverage of this great race. And we've got two classes, Formula F, as it's now called, and Formula 500. And Larry, I think we're in for a fun race here because these guys, they run at very similar speeds. They do it differently. That should be an interesting sort of combination, for lack of a better term.
Very differently with the way that the Formula Fs are built, your traditional Formula Fords. Now, a lot of them, of course, running the Honda power plants. They are a proper modern suspension Formula car, no downforce. The F5s, these are going to be, they're a live stick axle rear end. There's no real moving suspension aside from a couple of pucks in there. They hit the bumps. They bounce around a bit. A lot of them traditionally have the two-strokes. There is one of them here running one of the newer 600cc four-strokes, but they all make different power, different places. If you look at the actual qualifying results, these times are very similar between these oddly different classes. Yeah, they are. It's very close indeed. And down there on the pre-grid, right in and amongst all of the competitors, a lucky guy is Hayward Wagner.
Guys, you're talking about these classes turning similar times, but they do it in very different ways. We're going to take a look at two cars here. First, the FF car. You'll notice taller wheels, higher seat position for the driver. When you get a shot inside of the car, there's one really big difference. This little knob right here only is in the FF cars. They run a standard manual transmission, H-pattern transmission, which means they're shifting gears. They're all over the gearbox in this. These cars like to get to speed and stay at speed. They're very much about momentum and being quick everywhere. Now, if we look at the F5 car, shorter tires, a little bit more laid back for the driver, no manual transmission unless it's one of the bike-motored cars. This is one of the snowmobile-powered cars. You guys talked about the stick axle. You can see the solid axle across the back of the car. These cars make, for their weight, a ton of torque. They can really come into a corner, jump on the brakes, point the nose of the car, pin the throttle, and it is a rocket ship down straightaways. So very different ways that they make speed. The FF cars, fast all through the corners, momentum cars. These guys are rocket ships down the straightaway.
Yeah, absolutely right, Hayward. In the qualifying times, our pole sitter in the FF class, Jonathan Kotig, at a 141.6. Pole sitter in F5, Jeff Jorgensen, 41.8. I mean, that's as close as it gets. And it's interesting, especially the one of the F5 cars that run the centrifugal clutch. You've got to keep that spooled up and near engaged all the time. So very unusual engine note approaching corners when they're braking and they're popping on the throttle. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah, those noises that they make, the two-strokes, 4 out of the 5 of them here that we're going to see are the two-strokes. As Hayward mentioned, we do have one of the bike motors actually sitting in second. David Layton's going to be running one. I believe he's in I believe it's a Suzuki that he'll be running in the 600cc, and that's a 4-speed or 5-speed gearbox, maybe 6-speed by that matter. But it is a actual shifting vehicle. The rest are in the two-strokes with the snowmobile powertrain, and that just makes it a different way to drive the car because you're constantly on, like you say, those clutches, those kind of centrifugal clutch basket piece. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's just fun, and then you intermix them. It's going to be interesting. And one of the things you'll take a look, we have seen lots of developments over the years with these cars, with these chassis. You know, always now a very popular one is Van Diemen, but we still see the Swifts that were some of the very first inboard suspension aero Formula F cars. They're still very competitive. Lots of different chassis manufacturers in this Formula F class, and they put on a show. Honestly, it's one of my absolute favorite classes in anything that runs anywhere because it's Formula, it's open cockpit. You just got to love that. Skinny little tires, no aero, momentum. It's down to the driver's ability to carry speed, and that's racing. Yeah, totally a driver's class. Both of these fields are all about the drivers. You've got to set them up. But even though we've got different manufacturers, for example, in Formula F, those cars at the end of the day are virtually identical. A little different bodywork here and there between the Pipers and the Swifts, the Van Diemens. But at the end, it really doesn't matter. This is going to come down to these drivers. Absolutely, and it will come down to a dual chase to the championships here at Sonoma Raceway when we come back. You have incontinence? The beautiful 1,000 horsepower Trans Am 455 Super Duty safety vehicle, the official pace car of the Sports Car Club of America's Runoffs, brings this dual field around. Absolutely beautiful machine. It's been great to see it out on pace laps and rides, etc., as the event has unfolded. And right behind him is the first of 2 Tire Rack Pole Award winners here in the Formula F class, Jonathan Kotick, 3rd at the Runoffs last year in Indy, and a great young talent. And our other Pole Award winner, of course, is Jeff Jorgensen in the F5 class, and there he is in that bright orange machine, who has been very quick. We'll have a split start, obviously, where we got 2 different pace cars out there, and it's going to be interesting. The Formula F field, little light on numbers, only 5, but the competition is fierce. The front row, for example, separated by 0.2 of a second. So I think we're going to see some great racing in both of the classes, and certainly up front you take a look at the field here, and it's interesting. This is one of the few times, Larry, that we have seen a non-West Coast driver on the pole, which speaks to the remarkable talent of Jonathan Kotick.
It really does. This young man, I think he's just 24 years old, was one of the podium finishers a year ago, got his career started in go-karting, has adapted well to club racing. Like I said, mentioned, he was on that podium a year ago, the highest finisher from 17, now returning here for 18. Strong. He was basically the quickest car right from the get-go in qualifying Tuesday, Wednesday, and then into Thursday. Just a very fast young man.
And that Burgundy number 54 alongside in the front row, Chuck Horn, 2nd at the 2014 Runoffs, the last time that the Runoffs were on the West Coast at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So the competition pretty stout. 3-time gold medalist Tim Couts in that chrome number 88 that qualified in the 4th spot. This is a field that is stacked with talent, and it is about time to get serious. The green flag flies, and we are racing at Sonoma. Big field, 22 Formula F machines through turn 1, whistling up the hill. Looks like everybody at this stage giving each other room. Oh, as I say that, we go almost 4 abreast on the approach to turn 4, but everybody letting people have a little bit of racing room, get things settled, then we will go after it. And it is indeed Kotick who is able to jump into the lead.
Very clean start. Everyone giving each other a little bit of room. In fact, these guys at the front 5 or 6, they were single file before they even got to turn 2. They all know this is a long game.
Long game, open wheel cars, these things stick out, you touch, it's going to get nasty. They dealt with it beautifully. Here comes the start in Formula 5, and Jeff Jorgensen in that bright orange, that's the Nova car, leads and gets a great jump as they head up the hill.
He did, and who did not get a good jump was Lapham in 2nd, and it looked like, I think that's spearing up from 3rd, jumping him into 2nd spot already.
Yeah, Lapham definitely lost that spot, and spearing out of Beaverton, Oregon, in the Quadrini Racing Invader, taking advantage of it. Ooh,
that's contact.
That was a little bit of a rub and go there, wasn't it?
It did look like it. He's coming right back at him, though.
Yeah, I think so. Lapham had such a quick lap in qualifying, and the last thing he wants to do is get trapped a little bit when he knows he's got speed and let Jorgensen build up a big margin. And Jorgensen was just absolutely flying throughout every session that I certainly watched him on track. Impressive stuff, as is the margin. Kotick has opened up already. Look at this battle for 3rd. Bob Perona, 5th at the Runoffs last year, is dealing with a guy that has got a lot of experience, that chrome entry of Tim Kotz. That's the Braeburn Hoosier Piper, and he's racing a Piper for that 3rd spot.
Yeah, Kotick, though, really starting to pull ahead as this battle of Horn, Perona, and Couts is really tightened up. But if you look, Kotick is kind of in the distance already.
Yeah, he is. He's gapped the margin almost 2 seconds on that opening lap. And that's somebody on cool tires on a cool day that finds speed. That's usually a reflection of talent.
Absolutely is. To be able to go out there and don't even have to wait for the car to really get the heat in them to work well. He is just pulling ahead already up to, he said, 2 seconds plus. But this battle is going to be interesting for the rest of the podium, and to see if they can work together in the draft through some of the long stretches. These are momentum cars.
Absolutely.
You can draft it. If you can make up ground, maybe Kotick by himself kind of becomes the sitting duck with no partner to play with.
And chasing that group, the 51 of Skip Streets, who, of course, we already saw here this weekend with a great run to a silver medal in Formula V after putting his V on pole. He's moved up, and so has the 75 of Rick Payne, out of Mission, British Columbia, and the Peyton Pools Van Diemen. He's moved up a spot from where he qualified. And look at this now as Perona attacking the outside. Thought he might go for the over-under there in the number 54 of Horn. Couldn't quite get it done.
I think he's pushing Horn into taking maybe a bad line, not get as good a run down through here, probably try and set him up going around 10 into 11.
Well, and you couldn't see 2 different vintage chassis. That 54 is one of those beautiful Swifts that have been around forever. And then you've got behind him a Van Diemen. Then you've got the Piper. These guys, it's just, I think actually, I'm wrong on that. I think Perona is actually in a Piper as well. He is. And so it's the old versus the new, and the old's leading the way right now. I love it.
Yeah, they really are. But look, you see right there on his gearbox coming off of that hairpin. See if he can try and make a run, get that draft up into 2. It's a tough place to pass. Or perhaps they're going to try and just keep this pack together and try and slipstream their way to try and catch Kotick before he goes completely away.
Oh, look at Couch now trying the outside. And Perona, having none of that, just floated a little bit wide to dissuade Mr. Couch from trying that outside line.
Yeah, a little bit. Just kind of play a wide car a little and not leave yourself open. But they are definitely, they really do need to work together, I think, and to be able to turn the hot laps around here. A lot of these guys did run a lot of laps in the qualifying sessions through the middle of the week. I think that they wanted to learn the cars a bit on this track as some of these guys are coming in from out of town, like Perona out of Indy and Couts out of Illinois. And of course, then Kotick at the top, he's out of Florida.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure how much seat time he has here coming in. However, he looks like an absolute veteran out there at 24 years old.
Yeah, without doubt. And by the way, Rick Payne in the number 75 has moved around Skip Streets, picked up 5th. And Lapham was able to get through, take up 2nd, and he has taken up the chase as well.
He is. Now, he's got one of those Suzuki 600cc motorcycle engines now. And I'm wondering if he's, I believe I understand he used to run World Challenge cars back in the 90s.
He did.
And has adapted really well to these Formula cars here, switching to the Suzuki powertrain. Whereas our leader there, Jorgensen, well, he's on a Rotax 593 in his. He's on your classic 2-strokes. So they're about similar weights, but very different power plants. But right now, the man on the move appears to be Lapham.
Yeah, he seemingly really has some serious speed at this stage because he was a ways back of Jorgensen. So once he was able to get around Spearing, he had to chase him down, and he did.
Well, I think he needed to because we've got only 5 cars in the F5 field, but you've got a large number in the FF. They're going to catch the back of that FF field very quickly. If Lapham hadn't gotten up close to Jorgensen before they start catching that traffic, it becomes even harder to make up ground.
Yeah, absolutely could have got lost in that traffic. You're absolutely right. Meanwhile, this great battle is Horn. Every time we have Perona and Couch and the white and chrome Piper get to the back of the 54 of Horn in that burgundy Swift, he somehow seemingly finds another 5 car lengths here and there.
He's got speed in the right places to be able to hold a bit of a margin and to be able to defend going into some of the slow corners like 11.
And by the way, that Bumblebee-looking machine, that belongs to the number 11 of Denny Renfro out of Kelseyville, California, San Francisco region in the Toei Racing Piper. Just runs a little bit different graphic scheme on it. Makes the car look a lot longer than it actually is.
It kind of does. Stripes are slimming in that regard.
Exactly, and he's giving it a good ride here.
And he's on the back of Streets, who we saw in the Formula V race this weekend. And Streets put a heck of a fight up, had the lead, dropped back, ended up losing by side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel across the finish for his race. He's going to try and carry some momentum and maybe get himself into a podium, but he's certainly got a fight at his hands right now.
Yeah, he's got work to do here, but you're right. Yeah, it was 99 one-thousandths of a second. I think that margin of victory was for Skip, so you know he's a little hungry. But right now, Horn continues to hang on to that second spot. The problem is there's Kotick just flashing out of the frame. That's the margin from first to second. That's the difference between gold and the other colored medals. And, ooh, looked like Couts had a run on Perona. He was going to try something down into turn 10. We'll see if that worked as we take a good look at this young man, the number 81 of Jonathan Kotick, racing for Cahill Motorsports. And that's the Magali chassis with the Honda power plant. And it's been awfully strong the last few years.
It really has. The way that they brought Honda here into what traditionally was the Ford-powered, the old Kent motors, and that was really done out of kind of the age of those motors and the scarcity of parts to keep them running. But this Honda Fit engine becomes the easy button. This thing really is a crate motor out of the box. It is what it is. Honda backs it up even with warranty coverage for you. And they do run a restrictor to make sure it's equal. So you see a lot of the guys running the Hondas. I suspect that's just out of ease of ownership and setup and not to have to deal with a carbureted Kent motor anymore.
Well, and I think that's exactly one of the reasons they went and made that change available for Formula F is to give something that's not quite as high strung, not quite as thus expensive with rebuilds, where you can get a lot of engine life out of it, and then you put it into one of these chassis as Couts in the Piper takes a look at the Piper of Perona, but you've got the Swift and then the Miguel as well in the hands of Kotick. you're running these on these Honda engines. Which one, again, you know you're not going to be able to get something done just because you've got extra power.
Exactly. They're all in the same equipment. So at this point, it is completely in the driver's hands. Kotick right now is purples everywhere. I think it's his favorite color at this point because every lap he goes by, every sector he goes through, he is purple again. He's running mid-42s right now. And again, this is lap 4 of the race. He's running 42s. If he had run this in qualifying, he still would have qualified somewhere around 5th. So that's how fast he's turning right now.
That's mighty impressive. And the guy that's running second right now came in here with the existing track record. Chuck Horn set it in July of 2017, last year at a 1:43.494. And as you can see, that fast lap now is no longer Chuck Horn's. It's Jonathan Kotick.
Falling fast. Kotick is just strangling this whole race right now. It is his out in front. He doesn't even look like he wants to pace himself. He just wants to run away and not give anybody a chance to play for first.
Interestingly, though, in the race thus far, we were really expecting, based on qualifying times, to see the track record in the Formula 5 class drop. Hasn't yet. Obviously, that one was held by Jeff Jorgensen at a 1:41.012. And we thought, well, there's an opportunity maybe for them to get there. They didn't go quite that quick in qualifying, but they're nowhere near it right now in the race.
No, not quite. I think at this point, Jorgensen's just trying to maintain his position with Lapham right behind him now. They're just about a second apart on the track. And I think that he's right now just worried about watching his mirrors and holding his position. Lapham might be the quickest car in the F5 group, keeping up with him. So when that happens, sometimes you can't quite just push for fast lap. You start playing a little defensive, and it does take your pace down a bit.
Absolutely, and there you see it. Here's Jorgensen now getting into the back of the Formula F field. He got held up a little bit, and Lapham got a nice run. Lapham now has got to be able to sneak through, works around the outside of 3, and is able to stay close to that bright orange Nova car from CDT Motorsports at Jorgensen.
Yeah, he really does, and that was a tough place to get through that lap traffic. Good job by the Formula F car and giving them some space, recognizing this is the leaders of the F5 rolling through. But these two cars here, this F5 class has become a bit more of an aero class in the last decade or so. You're starting to see a bit of the front nose work covering up so you don't get as big of a block by the front tires. You're starting to see diffusers coming out the back, so they do get a little bit of downforce through some of the long corners.
That is the 73 of Perona. And not sure exactly if he just overran the corner, what may have happened here. Let's take a look. This is the replay. Oh, yeah, contact there. Couch got down to the inside. In Perona, it was a late lunge of sorts. I mean, he was well established alongside, but I don't think Perona realized he was there as he started to turn in.
No, I don't think he did. I didn't expect to be quite that close. And I'm curious now with Horn if he's going to be able to, or excuse me, out of Couts, to see if that car has anything bent. There was a little bit of contact there with the wheels. These open wheel cars are a little bit delicate. They're maybe not braking, but you do tend to see bending. It changes your alignment, and all of a sudden the cars give a bit different handling around this very challenging track.
Well, and especially if you knock the toe out just a little bit, and it can affect the handling big time. Good thing for them was it was wheel to wheel and they didn't interlock, because that's when you get a car that can go up, comes down, and break stuff. So they got away with one, possibly.
Yeah, and they both continued, which is a good thing, although I'm not sure that Couts is on the same pace. Now he's, of course, lost a couple seconds, kind of lost his drafting mate there as they were following Horn very closely. Now Couts has to kind of gather it back up and see if he can get the pace back before Payne catches him coming up behind him.
Couch certainly has great experience. We talked about it. He's a 3-time gold medalist. This is his 32nd runoff start. His last medal was in 2013 at Road America. And he's also got a bronze to his credit here. And now he needs to see. We have a new leader in Formula 5 as Lapham has gone around the 64 of Jorgensen. But boy, I'll tell you, as he came up over the rise, heading down into the carousel, that number 2 entry, that Nova car Suzuki, really dancing an awful lot.
Yeah, these cars bounce around a lot. We mentioned, they're not really a true suspension car. These are essentially on pucks. There's a little bit of motion allowed in the system. What also makes it challenging is the rear end is essentially like a go-kart rear end. It is just a spinning pipe with a chain connected to it. And so whatever happens to the left of the car affects the right side of the car. So when they hit a little bump, the whole car starts dancing around.
Yeah, when they refer to it as a live rear axle, live is the key word there.
In this case, it is fully alive. It is lively, it's alive, it is an animal to try and keep behind you.
Yeah, and these cars are so fast, they're so fun, and when they spin just like a gyroscope. They just snap, and then they stop, and you drive off again. And nice awareness there by the 137 of Bill Kephart and his Quasar company's Vestal. And he's running one of the Ford power plants in that car, and he was very aware of where these guys were and let them through nice and clean. Well done, Bill.
Yeah, and the flaggers, of course, keeping an eye on those things as well. Great work this weekend by these flaggers. They are so key to every driver's visibility as they come up with these blind corners. Every one of these drivers is looking for the flag stands to see, is there something happening in front of me? When you've got a gap between the fast and the slow drivers in a field, it's so important those flaggers are ready with the blues and signaling to the drivers in case somebody spins to throw those yellows.
And of course, Formula 5 was initially created as a low entry opportunity for people to get into road racing in the Sports Car Club of America. It's also found a home now in solo or autocross competition, which is a lot of fun as well. And there is a class now that has been created for it called F-Mod. And it's a pretty fascinating story, and it's one that we wanted to pass along to you just in case you're thinking about how can I get into solo competition.
We are assembling a car from the ground up in paddock for an event that we are racing at in 2 days. We were sitting around earlier this year, after Spring Nationals, and then we started talking about how much equipment we actually have and could we build a car out of it. I bet we could build a car out of our trailers if we only had a chassis. Fast forward 4 months, we're now sitting here, again, back at Lincoln, Nebraska for Solo Nationals, assembling a car out of parts from our trailer because someone was dumb enough to bring a chassis. So we affectionately call it the Doof Wagon. The class is F-Mod, and it's a 2-stroke engine powered with a CVT, so it's got an automatic transmission. It's a very fun car to drive. It's really responsive, it's light. And we have, over the last 3 or 4 years, really built up a pretty core group of drivers. It's just become a really big family, and we love it. And we have our chant. We say, "For the glory of F-Mod," and everybody says it now. So when we're on the track, it's extreme level competition. As soon as the runs are over, it's who has a broken car, who has a setup issue, how can we help? Let's get this guy up and running to make sure that we're all out there giving it our best.
Tell me that doesn't look like fun. And Larry, you just won a national championship in the national solo competition here. You know Brad pretty well.
I do know Brad pretty well, and he is the cheerleader of F-Modified. The For the Glory is so true. You see it everywhere. You hear it everywhere, even sometimes when you don't want to hear it. They still are shouting it out. They are a strong, tight-knit core. They're a family there in F-Modified. And those really are essentially the same cars here, slightly different setups. But it just shows you how low barrier to entry. You talk about this being a few moments ago a place where you can enter level into club racing. The solo cars are very much the same. It shows you can essentially take a pile of parts, put it together, and at least be on the track.
And speaking of on the track, Jorgensen finally, after having had to chase Lapham for a while, was able to dive down the inside at turn 11 and take the point back one more time. And again, we certainly encourage you, if you've never done, it's autocrossing, by the way, I apologize, I said autocourse before, autocross or solo, it is an absolute blast. It is a tremendous way to learn car control, balance, but do it in a little bit different surround where you're running through cones as opposed to concrete walls and the like, but it's no less competitive. It's a great place to get into driving a car in a competitive scenario.
It really is. It teaches you so much about car control. You come out to a club race, if you start there, you get so focused on track position with the guy next to you and trying to outbrake him, but you kind of forget the core, the basics of, I got to put this thing on point. I need to know where my entries are, where my eyes are, where's visually dragging me through the corner.
Oh, and right there, by the way, Jorgensen really got hung up behind that Formula F machine, and Lapham thought he had a run, and Jorgensen popped. Lapham had to dynamite the brakes, but Latham's got a huge run. Not quite enough, as Jorgensen finally able to use that Formula F machine as a little bit of a pick to keep Lapham behind him. But this is what we're going to see between these two. I think very, very cut and thrust racing. And these cars are just an absolute blast to drive, certainly. And there are people that in the road racing side of things will say, yeah, it's a great place to get your training for stepping up. But you know what? There are people that either have just don't have the wherewithal because it's costly to go club racing, or they just don't have the interest. And soloing is a fabulous way to learn how to race just like this. And now Lapham down the inside, Jorgensen trying to work the outside line. And now, this is what I said, this is going to be great. Jorgensen spools up that clutch, and that thing just has, as Hayward said earlier, when it hits, it's got so much torque and launch, and he is now right up along the outside.
Yeah, it really does. Those have got great torque, and those bike motors tend to be maybe a bit of a favor for the long tracks at Elkhart Lake or something, or even an Indy. But here at this little bit more twisty track, that 600, the 593 road tax can certainly pull very strong and hold his position.
And you saw Lapham there just go for the over-under, couldn't quite get it done as they got up into turn 2. A lot of experience. For many years, I announced snowmobile racing, and the start of the snowmobile races was so important. And the guys that understood the correct engagement points on those centrifugal clutches, they were the gurus. They were the wizards in the paddock.
Yeah, and I tell you that the ones that really are the masters are the mechanics who set those clutches up, because they are so difficult to get exactly right, combined with the peak torque of the motor, because that's where you want that power band to be grabbing strongest, so that when you do come off a slow corner such as turn 7 right here, you want it spooled up just right, where it grabs, and now with the driver, he can almost react with his hands to keep it under him, and now start hitting something like these S's. You don't want a car that's slow to react, because it takes you out of your rhythm.
But the real key is that you've got to, as you're braking into a turn, you've got to keep that clutch engaged, so you'll hear that little throttle blipping as they're braking going in, just to keep everything spooled up. It is just a blast. Now, they're a very short wheelbase car, which means the center of rotation happens in a hurry. And like we just saw from Jorgensen, Lapham gets another great run. Boy, he is quick through turn 10. But they go through those long duration corners like the carousel. They just want to go. They want to snap. They're not as stable as a longer wheelbase car. So that in itself is great car control training.
It really is. You watch these guys just trying barely on that knife's edge, coming through the S's. Now I wonder if that 600cc bike motor is helping him a little bit, helping Lapham as he comes down through 9 into 10 to close that gap, but then he tries to make the move, can't quite make it stick. We've seen that a couple of times, where Jorgensen is able to just get the better exit speed again, maybe that torque playing to his advantage to come off of those and then head up across the front straight into 2.
I think that's exactly it, and the thing is obviously you would think with an actual gearbox, getting in the right gear and being able to go with the bike engine in Lapham's car. But the thing is if you get somebody who understands how to keep that clutch engaged with that torquey road tax, whole different ball game. This could be changing up here too. We go back to Formula F right now, and Kotick is gone to the tune of some 10 seconds right now, and a wickedly quick lap at a 1:42 flat essentially. And but the battle for second, Kautz, after that moment when he got together with Perona, has reeled him back in again and is within about a second and a half.
Yeah, this is certainly not decided at all. Kautz is making up serious ground. Horn able to at least get under the 43.0 mark on his last time by, but Kautz is the second quickest car in the track right now, running mid-42s. Kotick, by the way, has set the fast lap of the race at a 42.0. And that actually would have put him on pole. When we're 12 laps into the race, he's still going faster. Doesn't need to. He's got this 10-second lead, but he's just hitting his marks. Yeah,
he's found that zone, hasn't he? There's no question. Interesting for Kautz, if he didn't have anything untoward happen to the car in that contact with Perona, he's a lucky guy. If he did, his talent is showing right now, because if he's got a car that's maybe not quite true in terms of which way the wheels are pointing, to be wheeling it the way he is spectacular.
Yeah, and just watching Kautz, they're talking about wheeling as he comes out of 6. That rear of the car took about a 10-degree step, and that's not the place you want to lose momentum. These are still momentum cars. And you can see he's sliding around quite a bit, clearly showing these are not aero cars in any way. These things always are trying to carry a little bit of slip. You do that too much, and the tires don't really appreciate it. Not so much in these cars. Some of the other bigger, T2 cars and things where you're kind of relying on those tires, they go away quickly. These last a little longer, but you still don't want to get them into their high operating zone. Then you just lose control of the car.
Yep.
He right now is in that battle. He's only got about 8 laps left to try and catch Horn for the second spot, and the last thing he needs to do is kind of throw his car away now.
Well, it makes me wonder if maybe there wasn't a little something that happened with the tow out, because what'll happen when it happens on one corner of the car, you'll suddenly be even better at turn-in into, say, a left-hander, but worse into a right-hander, and you've got to compensate for that. And just the fact that we see that car every once in a while stepping out suddenly, that's not really how Couch generally drives.
Yeah, in fact, so the turn 6 being a long left-hander, maybe the car, and you can see a little bit of slide there, but the long left-hander, maybe that's where it took the step. But on the right-handers, perhaps, for example, 10, even coming to the hairpin at 11, maybe the car works a little better. So it'll be interesting to see the next time by coming around that carousel through 6, if he's able to hold the car under him a little better, getting used to maybe how that car's stepping out.
And that wasp-looking number 11 of Renfro, he's had a good race. He was back behind Payne and Streets for a while, and he has taken that number 11 now up into the 5th spot, his Toby Racing Piper. So a good job for Renfro. That puts Rick Payne back a spot into 6th. And even at this stage, the number 44 of John Branstead, who qualified 8th in his JBF Racing Swift, has worked his way around the 51 of Skip Streets. And Streets had qualified in the 5th spot, so he's dropping just a little bit in his Piper here as we watch this battle. This 4th right now, Renfro chasing the white Piper of Perona.
Yeah, a good little battle definitely developing here as Renfro trying to make up a bit of ground. And that's what happens is these longer races, you get to these 20-lap races, and things change. The car changes. It doesn't quite pull the same down the straightaways. You don't get the same hook off of these tighter corners like 7, where it's so key to get a run down through these S's.
Yep.
Suddenly the car changes. If you don't quickly change your style, change your turn-in point, change even your apex a little bit, if you don't adapt to the car, you start to lose pace. Perhaps that's what's happened here as Renfro definitely gaining ground.
Yeah, you've got to learn to adapt. That's one of the things. Things change as a race unfolds, and it can be something to the car itself in terms of tires going off, a little contact changing something. It can be something like sand on the track, just the track greasing up, and sometimes you just have to adapt your driving style to counter for it. Impressive run by Perona. And keep in mind, Perona was in a battle for the medals last year at Indy and had a late spin when he was throwing everything at it. And it's the runoffs after all. You go for it, that's for sure. And so I'm sure that little bit of contact for him is frustrating in the fact that he thought maybe I was in a shot for the medals this time. And now he's just hanging on for 4th.
Yeah, he really is. He's got 6 laps to try and keep Renfro behind him. Renfro right now, he's just got the red mist flying. He wants to catch up to Perona and try to take away that 4th spot. And who knows what happens out front.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think we've seen it in other races here at the runoffs where nothing's decided to the last lap. We've seen a couple of podium changes. So that's what Perona and Renfro both are doing, trying to make sure they stay in a position to hopefully move up if they can.
Yeah, and last lap, Couch ran a little bit quicker than Horn, so that battle for 2nd and 3rd not decided. This battle for the gold in the Formula F class, nowhere near decided. Yes, now Jorgensen has opened up a little bit of a lead, but I think that was traffic induced, and if he gets hung up here, that could all go away in a heartbeat here, and he's going to get through on that white Formula F machine. But now where does he run up on the back of these guys, exiting the carousel down at the bottom? And he's going to get a pretty free run, so what happens in 7 could be very telling here.
It will be, and it's interesting to see now as he comes around 7, when does he catch these lap cars? Is because if he starts catching them through 9 and 10, that's not the place you want to go by, and then you see Lapham right up behind him. That's going to really close the gap as you come down through here, which is where Lapham was faster before anyway. These two I expect to be side by side coming into 11 here.
I would think so, and starting to see Jorgensen, the back of that Nova car, is what the name of the chassis is. It's really starting to move a lot as well. So I think in his fight back to the lead here over Lapham, he's maybe used it up, and Lapham got a tremendous run into turn 10 as Jorgensen was trying to adjust on that number 12 Ford, and Lapham just cut down underneath. That was a very savvy move. Excuse me, the 17 Ford of Doug Learned. Oh, and there's contact. Jorgensen caught up in it as he tried to slide through, bits and pieces coming off of his Formula F.
Oh, that's just terrible. Yeah, as he was trying to get by that lap traffic and he's got the damage to the front end, that car is going to be handling totally different. He's going to try and milk a 2nd spot here, but he's going to be a sitting duck.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's vastly going to affect the aero, and he has a problem now even turning. He had to get way out of the throttle. Oh, look at that. You see his hand. He can't believe what's happened here. Here's another look at it. And that's just a classic case, I think, of the 17, learning, didn't even know he was there probably.
Yeah, he also, I think, as he hit a little bit of the curve on corner entry, did Jorgensen. Taps the curb, he slide out, and he just couldn't get the car back under him. He kind of put himself into the position there on the back of that Formula F. I feel terrible for him as well, because the Formula F driver's thinking, I may have just taken this guy's race out. But, you know, I think Jorgensen, I think he's going to recognize that he hit that curb, and as I mentioned earlier, these live axle cars, if you touch a bump, they just start to go away from you. That may have been what just happened right there.
It's a good point. You hit the curb right as you're going to throttle with that much torque, and it just unsettles it, drove him right in to the back of Learned. And a nice job by Edward Erlinson in that white number 8, the artwork by Eli Porter Racing entry. After that, realizing what was happening, and immediately just pointed Jorgensen through. But at that point, he was in trouble already, obviously. But look at this. Here comes Couts. He has trimmed that margin once again. He's down under a second as we have about 3.5 laps remaining.
Yeah, Couts is really cooking. He's running lap times about the same as Kotick right now, and he's gaining about 2-3 tenths per lap as we've got 4 laps to go, and he just has to now probably look for that opportunity as he wants to get up on his gearbox and see where on this track is he faster than Horn, and where can he maybe use that to his advantage and try and make a move.
Of course, Chuck Horn out of Los Gatos, California, and the Heibels, Max Enterprises, Porter Racing, Swift DB6, got a lot of experience at this track. He's going to have to dig deep and use an awful lot of it probably to hold off 3-time gold medalist Tim Couts.
So Couts last year at Indy was very fast and did not finish the race. About halfway through, had an issue there, and I think he's trying to make up for that right here, trying to make sure he get himself up into that middle step of the podium and show everyone that the speed he showed last year is true speed, and get himself a medal here at 2018.
You're absolutely right. When you have a run like he had, same thing for Skip Streets, was very quick at the runoffs last year at Indy, but also had an issue, and that just lights the fire. And you say, all right, I'm coming back. I'm going to be there at the runoffs this next time. Unfortunately for Skip, struggling a little bit here, has dropped back to 8th, but Couch right in this here as we have 3 to go.
Yeah, Couch, I'm sure he's sitting on 12 months of frustration kind of boiling over, and he's just using this opportunity.
Good point.
Any racer, that's what happens. You get to championship events. I've been there before where you feel like you just didn't get the chance. Something breaks. In his case, you don't finish. You are motivated from day one after the runoffs are over to try and be better, be faster, be stronger. And I'm sure he came out here with that thought. And here he is sitting already in a bronze, but he's sniffing silver right now.
You bet he is. And by the way, Kotick has backed off just a little bit and is now running high 142s, which is what everybody else has for best laps.
Yeah.
It's an impressive run by this young man.
And recognizing maybe just keeping an extra 2 off of the curbs, because they are a bit tall in spots. In fact, some of the curbs have a bit of dip as they as you exit the pavement, get to the curb, and then they rise up and high. And if you're in an open wheel car, the last thing you want to do is to go bending your suspension 2 laps from a win. So he's going to probably just stay off of those a little bit and just maybe not missing marks or anything, just trying to make sure he doesn't damage the car and bring it home a win.
And now Horn catching some traffic here, and as they head into the S's, and this is a place where a car just can't hit the disappear button. And if you don't get him in the right spot, and he did, he slid through that. Actually, that could help him huge. Cout's going to try and swing around the outside and at least try and clear that car by the time they get to turn 10. If he doesn't, this could be a big opportunity, and he does. I was going to say that could have been the big moment for Horn to break free, but Cout's relentless and forced his way through as we're coming up on 2 to go.
Yeah, he knew that he could not stay behind for one more corner, so he needed to get by. Staying aggressive here, trying to keep his mirrors in the mirror, so to speak. If you look at the color of that Couts car.
This is going to be interesting now as Horn coming up on the back of Kephart up through turn 2. And there's not a lot of variety in lines you can run up here. A little bobble there by Horn. I think he checked up a little bit, and half of that margin is gone now as Couch is all over the back, and he's still not through on Kephart as they get up to 3A.
Tough place to pass. Even if you're lap traffic, it's hard to get aside and let guys through.
Now
so we've got a battle.
Yeah, Kephart saw the flags there and moved over nicely into 4, but not before Couch got a tremendous run.
Yeah, they're going to be side by side here, and then it's going to be who can get a better run going into 7, because that's a great place to pass at this track. Couch
trying to open his entry up a little bit to be able to diamond that corner, get a run. Oh, found him! Got away from Horn. He was feeling the pressure, kept it off the wall, That was just a throttle spin right there off camber. He hadn't quite caught that compression yet, and around he went.
It totally was there. Yeah, just couldn't quite keep the back end under him, but he was under so much pressure that he had to keep the throttle in and hope the car would come back. Not able to. Couts now sitting in the catbird seat. He's able with that second spot.
Yep, absolutely. Here now is Jonathan Kotick, I think 24 now this season. As he comes up and he's got a couple corners, he'll pick up the white flag, 1 to go, and he's definitely eased it off a little bit, turning about a mid 143 last lap now. And as you said, just giving himself those little extra bit of margin as he needs to. Still focused forward. White flag flies, 1 lap to go.
Yeah, and I'm sure in his mind, after last year being on the podium, he really wanted that win. That was such a tight, awesome race last year. Here, he's probably just thinking, I want to get this home and feel that emotion of seeing double checkers wave.
And the nice thing is, when you've built that kind of a margin, you can really take your time, not do anything untoward in traffic, and that's exactly what he could do here. You can see he's waving a little bit.
Communication.
And, yeah, absolutely. And the number 26 at Doug Brenner, the Simi Valley, California driver, in the Brenner Shocks Van Diemen, just saw the flag, pointed him right through. Good sportsmanship across the board here, I think, as Kotick down into the carousel for the last time.
Yeah, that was totally, it's not an angry wave by any means by Kotick. That is totally a, hey, can I go by? And you saw the wave back by the other driver. This is clearly just communicating.
Yeah, it may have been frantic and intense,
a little bit.
Not angry. Exactly. Boy.
Even still, even with the lead in F5, he's still having trouble getting the power down coming out of there. Even the car steps, and well, like we just saw with Horn, anything's possible here at the end of the race.
Yeah, and I think when you've been pushing that hard in that battle he had with Jorgensen, I'm sure those tires are past their sell-by date for sure at this stage, and he's just hanging on to that very quick and impressive number 2 Hoosier-tired Nova car.
Yeah, very impressive. As I talked to him earlier in the week, and switching to this engine, this chassis this year, coming from a different one last year, and really adapting quickly and throughout the week, getting closer and closer, and here you can see it.
Meanwhile, through turn 11 for the last time, Jonathan Kotick, after a bronze medal and being in the hunt for the podium and the top step last year, earns it big time with a dominant win, and he becomes national champion in Formula F for Cahill Motorsports. Pretty impressive what that team Cahill has been able to do over the years. As the rest of the field flashes through, and Couts and Horn, it's a matter of whether Horn was able to recover quick enough, but now we watch for our second national champion to be crowned in this race, and watching David Lapham as he works his way around this track.
Yeah, he's at this point again, trying now after probably having that turn 11 step side about a half a lap ago. I think in his mind he's thinking, hey, let's just settle this thing down. If there's a lap car, take an extra corner because you're not fighting anymore. Let's just get to the finish.
Right, and I'm sure the crew has advised him. He's got a big lead now.
In fact, here he's letting another car go past him
Smart
just to
move.
say, I'm not his fight. He's not my fight. Let's see checkers.
Yep, great move. By the way, Couts, as I said, got the silver. Horn did recover for the bronze, but Perona was only a few seconds behind him. So a heart-in-the-throat moment, I'm sure, for Chuck Horn. Meanwhile, here comes the man in the number 2 entry out of Irvington, New York, David Lapham, as he works his way through the final corner, and the double checkers await, and he becomes national champion. He's had 6 podiums. His best was a second in Mid-Ohio, but he finally gets to put that gold around his neck. Boy, I think we're going to see one elated interview when Hayward finds him.
I'm sure even if you're a World Challenge driver in the past and you've got all this experience, there is nothing like a checkbox in that bucket list to say, I now am a national champion at the runoffs.
Absolutely. It's very, very special stuff indeed. And Tim Couts now is caught up to the back of Kotick, and I'm sure he's saying, hey, well done, my friend. That young man really put on one heck of a race here. And you've got to be impressed with that. And the interesting thing for David Lapham, his last medal, that bronze, 1998.
Yeah, he's been at this a while.
So you bet. He's been working at it, and really, really cool to see. And Kotick leading the field in right now. Couts and Horn complete the podium in Formula F. And in the Formula 5 class, it's Lapham with Spearing in second, I believe, and Straight in third. We'll visit with them when we come back. Stay with us.
Oh, that's awesome.
And into that prestigious piece of real estate in pit lane at any Runoffs competition, when everybody else makes the turn into tech, the top 3 head to the staging area for the interviews, but more importantly, even than that, the medals. And Jonathan Kotick, he's so excited. He's going to go back out for another run around this track with a very special lap of honor, but he wanted to stand up and I'm sure celebrate this one. How about a shout out to Bruce Foss standing there with the neck gaiter, if you will, that's going to go around this young man's neck. Bruce, so associated with Hoosier Tire over the years, and that is a company, along with everybody that has tires and fuel and everything in this paddock, so supportive of their drivers, and Bruce and Hoosier have been doing it for a long time, and Jonathan's going, all right, now I'm ready. He's got all the gear off, arm restraints. It's a big deal to get into these cars. Seems to be even bigger to get out. There's going to be a medal and a hat going on, and then we will turn it over, and Hayward is ready to go. Nice job by Cece there. She's overseeing Victory Circle. Hayward?
Jonathan, you've been close, but you got it done here at Sonoma. How does it feel to be an SCCA national champion?
It feels awesome. I can't thank the team enough. We just missed it a little bit last year, but wanted to make sure we came back and got it done this year. So can't thank Chris, Jake, Cahill, everyone on the whole team. Can't thank Jeremy and Steve Oseth as well. So just big ups to the team.
You made it look easy, but I can see you got a little bit of the shakes going. You worked hard for this, didn't you?
Yeah, it was definitely tough, especially with the lap traffic. Just had to play smart and work my way through. So just made sure to be smart on the opening laps, pull a gap, and use that to my advantage cutting through traffic.
Well, congratulations to you. You get to take a victory lap here as a national champion.
Thank you.
And that was key. Like he said, he built a little bit of a gap. He knew traffic was going to be tough. And as you take a look at the results, Couts and Horn complete the podium. Perona, Renfro, great run up into the 5th. But building that margin gives you that little bit of patience working traffic.
Yeah, and that is so key. If you're going to be at a track like this where passing is at a premium, if you're going to come up on lap traffic, you've got to be able to pick your spots. If you're under pressure, you don't get a choice. You've got to go by now when it happens. Otherwise, you give up a spot. If you're Kotick and you've got 5, 6, 7 seconds, you can wait a corner. It's okay.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, obviously. Anytime you can lower the risk, that's a big story. Just to give you an idea of how quick David Lapham was in that Nova car, remember the split start. He was behind the entire Formula F field by about a third of a lap, ended up finishing 12th overall. Let's get back down to Hayward.
David, you can stay in the car. The first words out of your mouth, finally, after 30 years.
That's correct. It's been a long time coming. I come close a couple times and finally did it.
Now, you've done some pro racing, a lot of different things. What makes winning the runoff special?
I've been trying for 30 years. It's the pinnacle of amateur racing. So it's just great, and I love this track.
Well, congratulations to you, and enjoy your victory lap.
Thank you.
In the Formula 500 post-race inspection, the 2 car was found to be out of compliance and was disqualified from the final results, thus advancing Lance Spiring into the first position, Russell Strait Jr. into second, and John Walbrine into third.
Guys, second place in F5. That was a little hairy out there, wasn't it?
It was at times. These cars don't turn the best on the sharp hairpin corners, and so I struggled a little bit about halfway through the race. I felt the front tires starting to go out, so it got harder and harder to keep up the pace. So I knew if I just kept it shiny side up, I would be good for at least third, so I just worked on that.
Well, shiny side and a shiny medal. Congratulations on the second.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And we're going to grab third real quick. Guys, I need...
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Welcome to victory.
Well, it's quite nice to be here.
So if Ron's here for you, the runoffs, tell me about your drive.
My drive started out with, I've got to admit, the engine went off. And so I just kept my foot down as best I could and tried to run a clean race. And so here I am.
Well, congratulations on the bronze.
Thank you.
Yep, these guys love racing these cars, and it's just because you get out of these cars, those Formula 5 cars, the smile is just huge, and they put in such intense competition. Russell's been at it a while, too. This was his 15th start in the Runoffs, and his first ever medal. He was 7th in 2015 at Daytona, so this was mighty special for him. And I think Hayward now has found our podium finishers in the Formula F category.
Tim, welcome back to the podium here at the runoffs. A silver this time. How satisfying is this one for you?
You know, it's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. This is a heck of a track to figure out. I was very challenged with it. I had Ethan Shippard in my camp, which was monumental in getting me better in the car. The car was pretty good out of the trailer, but figuring this place out is one of the most challenging I've ever had. So big thanks to him. Cahill and Jonathan, they had a heck of a program. And, I guess the quicker team won this time, but we gave it all we had.
Indeed. Congratulations on the silver.
Thank you.
And Chuck, you had a little bit of a nervous moment there at the end of the race. Thought you might have given it away, huh?
Yeah. It happens. You drive hard, and Tim was pushing me. We caught some lap traffic, and I had a nice little gap there for a while. We hit traffic, and then it starts happening, and yeah, I'm not sure what happened. That rarely happens down there like that. So, but I actually got lucky because when you spin down there like that, sometimes you'll back into the wall. So luckily I didn't get a chance to do that. I gather it back up, and at least we got a podium finish here.
Not bad keeping it on the podium. Congratulations on the bronze.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely great performance by everybody, even with those little moments. And I think hearing what Tim Couch was talking about, that's why at the very top of the show we talked about why this was such a great place to determine a national championship, because this place is a brutal track to figure out. So if you win a championship here, you've well and truly earned that medal.
Absolutely. These guys, this is such a driver's venue. All the drivers in all the classes have said the same thing, that this might be one of the most challenging tracks they've ever driven. You just heard the same thing from Couch there. This is such a challenge to come out here. You see Jorgensen, one of those moments where maybe that caught him, that curb entering 11. You go through 5-6 practice qualifying sessions, and until you do that in a race, you don't realize how much that could affect you, and that could be, the experience of the track not really working to his favor.
And there's the moment by Horn when he looped it, and then here was Kotek picking up the double checkers and the gold medals. Absolutely a pleasure to call this one with you.
Thank
Two
you, sir.
classes, double the fun, and it was exactly that. We want to remind everybody next year's Runoffs at another glorious facility, Virginia International Raceway. Keep your eyes tuned for that. A big thanks to Mazda for presenting our coverage here. So we're going to wrap things up with our coverage of Formula F and Formula 5 for Larry McLeod and Hayward Wagner and all of our CBS Sports Network crew. I'm Greg Kramer in association with the Sports Car Club of America. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, your 24-hour home of CBS Sports.